The Giant That Never Was, a metaphysical farewell to the Twilight Zone. The final lesson hides inside the final illusion, and the fear arranges its stage so cleanly that the mind can finally see what it has been running from all along. Nothing. A balloon shaped like a monster, inflated by expectation and held aloft by belief, becomes the perfect symbol for every fear the ego has ever sold. This episode closes our 151 episode odyssey with a single metaphysical truth. Fear is not an emotion but a misidentification. Fear is the mistaken belief that something outside the mind has the power to touch what lives within the mind. And so the episode brings two people together, both afraid, both hiding, both performing roles they cannot sustain, so the illusion can collapse on contact with honesty. Trooper Franklin arrives as the symbol of external protection. Yet he is the first to confess he has been afraid more times than a rabbit. The mask falls, and with it the myth of external safety. Because true safety does not come from a role, a badge, a uniform, or an identity. True safety comes from truth. And truth begins the moment pretense ends. Miss Scott, grasping at sophistication to avoid facing the terror inside her own mind, judges the town, the trooper, the people, and even the air itself. But her judgments are not opinions, they are projections, thrown outward to avoid the trembling she refuses to acknowledge within herself. When he calls her out on her disdain, the facade cracks, and the real Charlotte emerges, tired, frightened, ashamed of her breakdown, and trying to outrun her own thoughts. The moment she speaks honestly, he speaks honestly. And the moment they join, fear loses its continuity. A Course in Miracles teaches that fear cannot survive joining, because joining exposes what fear requires to live: secrecy, isolation, and private worlds. Once their minds meet, the footprint seems less powerful. The overturned car becomes less convincing. The noises lose their authority. The giant itself freezes, waiting for belief that never fully comes. Fear is not dismantled by courage. Fear is dismantled by clarity. And clarity dawns the instant the mind no longer hides from itself. When Franklin shoots the towering monster, it collapses in seconds, revealing what it always was: air wrapped in fabric, a symbol of egoic exaggeration made literal. Fear is always a balloon, magnified by imagination, inflated by guilt, and given form by belief. Once punctured, the illusion dissolves at the speed of light. But Serling saves the deepest revelation for the tiny aliens trembling inside their miniature spacecraft. They confess everything, every trick, every manipulation, every illusion used to provoke fear they thought would be automatic. They burned the trees. They carved the footprint. They sprayed the fingerprints. They magnetically overturned the car. They inflated the giant. And still the plan failed. Earthmen's failure to be frightened. This is the ego's worst nightmare, a mind that no longer believes in the reality of fear. Without belief, the ego shrinks to its actual size, microscopic, powerless, dependent on deception for survival. It begs to leave before the humans crush it, not because humans are violent, but because truth destroys illusion by recognizing it as illusion. This is forgiveness in its purest form, the recognition that the thing you feared never had the power you assigned it. The ego cannot stand in the presence of a mind that sees, and so the aliens flee, undone by the very refusal to tremble. Miss Scott, who moments earlier could not stand in the presence of her own thoughts, now asks the trooper, "What if the next ones are giants?" And he answers with the line that reveals her transformation: "I think you'd spit in their eye." Fear does not return once it has been unmasked. You cannot re-inflate a balloon once the mind has seen the whole. And so Serling closes the episode and your journey with a truth the course echoes endlessly. The worst thing there is to fear is fear itself, because fear is nothing more than the belief in something that never existed. What collapses in the fear is not a balloon. What collapses is the entire architecture of believing that danger comes from outside. What collapses is the illusion of giants. What collapses is the authority of fear. And what remains, quiet, steady, unshakable, is the mind that finally recognizes that the thing it ran from was a trick of its own making. The Twilight Zone began as a stage for irony, mystery, and moral tales. But across 151 episodes, something else emerged, an invitation to see the world as a projection, not a prison. And in this last offering, the series hands you the final key. The giants were never giants. The terror was never terror. The fear was never real. Only the belief was. And once belief is withdrawn, what remains is a mind that cannot be threatened because it recognizes that nothing unreal can threaten it. A perfect ending, mighty companion, because the balloon pops right where the ego finally meets its limit. Fear cannot stand in the light. Fear cannot stand in joining. Fear cannot stand in truth. And so the last enemy falls not with a fight but with a hiss of escaping air. The giant never was.